Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue to bring you a video about the story of Ly Hoai Ca and Hùng. Life for Hoai Ca and Hùng has never been an easy journey, as many might assume when looking at the vast fields stretching endlessly before their eyes. To others, that place might represent opportunity, a fresh start, or smooth beginnings, but to them, it was a long, quiet search for a small chance among countless things that seemed already decided. They had been to many places. Not just once, but many times. Their footsteps repeated along familiar dirt paths. The fields spread wide, lush, and full of life, yet there was no place for them. They asked. They waited. They hoped. And then, they quietly left. Because the answers they received were almost always the same. Those lands were already being cultivated. There was no space left. No opportunity. No place to begin. That feeling was not an instant failure. It was a lingering disappointment. Just as hope began to spark, it slowly faded away. Hùng looked at everything with deep concern. He understood reality. He knew that without land, every plan would remain just a thought. Calculations, plans, desires, all became fragile without a concrete starting point. He thought more, worried more, and sometimes fell into silence more often. But while Hùng was still caught in his thoughts about the present, Hoai Ca chose a different way to move forward. She did not wait for certainty before starting. She did not wait for everything to be perfect before taking action. She began with the smallest things, quietly, patiently, without needing anyone to know. Hoai Ca went to buy seeds. Not just one kind, but many different kinds. Melons, cantaloupes, watermelons. These were familiar crops, but to her, they carried a completely different meaning. She brought them home. Prepared small soil bags, carefully planted each seed, not rushed, not careless, but with great attention, as if every seed was something truly important. What was special was that all of this happened while they still had no land, no clear piece of land, no concrete planting plan, no guarantee that those seeds would ever be planted outside. But Hoai Ca still did it. Because in her mind, preparation was not something done when everything was ready. It was something done when she was ready to believe in something that had not yet happened. Each small seed placed into the soil was not just an act of planting. It was her way of holding on to hope. Her way of reminding herself that they were still moving forward. Slowly, but never standing still. As days passed, those small soil bags began to change. Tiny sprouts emerged, fragile, yet full of life. And those small things became the greatest source of motivation. Hùng saw it all. He didn't say much, but in his eyes, many emotions intertwined. There was worry, seeing Hoai California place her faith in uncertainty. There was sympathy, knowing she was trying to stay strong for both of them. And there was silence, when he realized that sometimes he was the one hesitating more. But then, he understood. What kept them moving forward was never what they had in their hands. Not land, not money, not favorable conditions, but belief. Belief in a tomorrow they could not yet see. Belief that what they were doing today would one day have meaning. And belief that, as long as they did not give up, answers would eventually come. So, even without land, they began. Even without knowing where the road ahead would lead, they kept going. Not in a hurry, not loudly, but steadily, and without stopping. And from those seemingly small steps, a new journey was quietly taking shape, firm and unwavering, just like the way they had always chosen to walk side by side until now. But then, the challenges that Hoai Ca and Hùng had to face were never only about the outside world. It was not just about land, Not just about the long days searching for opportunities across endless fields, but also about the pressure coming from the very place where they should have found peace. Family. Something so familiar, yet sometimes becoming the greatest challenge of all. One day, Hung's mother came. It was not a simple visit. Not gentle questions, not the usual kind of care. She came with a clear purpose. She wanted Hung to return to a life she believed was better. A spacious house, a complete environment, everything convenient. A place where, the moment you step in, you can feel stability. No need to worry every day. No need to calculate every little thing. That was the kind of life many people dream of. What any mother would believe is best for her child. And when placed on the scale, the place where Hung was living now was just a small house. Not spacious, not fully equipped, even lacking in many ways. Every corner carried signs of impermanence. Every day was filled with effort. The contrast was too clear. One side, a ready-made, comfortable life. The other, a journey with no certain destination. The atmosphere seemed to pause. All eyes turned to Hung, because everyone understood. His decision would not affect only himself. And then, without hesitation, Hung gave his answer. He refused. No avoidance. No delay. No excuses. A decisive decision, yet not an easy one. Because he was not heartless. He was not someone who failed to appreciate what his mother had done for him. On the contrary, he understood it very clearly. He understood her worries, her desire for him to have a better life. He knew that behind her words was a deep and genuine love. But precisely because he understood, he could not choose that path. Because if he returned, the one left behind would be Hoài Ca, alone, in the middle of unfinished things, in the middle of unsolved difficulties, in a journey they had started together, but she would have to continue alone. He could not let that happen. He could not let her face everything without him. He could not allow what they had built together to be abandoned just for an easier choice. And so, standing before two very clear paths, one side, comfort and stability, the other, love and uncertainty, he still chose to stay. To stay, not because this place was perfect, but because it held someone he could not leave behind. To stay, to continue the path they had started together. To stay, so no one would be left behind. The atmosphere grew tense. Words were no longer as gentle as before. Emotions began to overlap. The pressure came not only from the decision, but also from the gap between two generations. One side wanted to protect. The other was determined to hold on to what they believed in. And in the middle of it all, Hoài Ca was the one who spoke. Not loudly, not accusing, not letting emotions take over. She simply said, very gently, "If you go back, I'll be okay." A sentence that seemed so simple, not heavy, not pleading, not placing any burden on Hung's shoulders. But that very gentleness made everything fall silent. Hung stood there, speechless, because he understood perfectly what lay behind those words. It was not letting go, nor acceptance. It was sacrifice. She accepted to take the hardship upon herself, accepted to face everything alone, just so he would not be trapped between two painful choices, just so he would not feel guilty, just so he could feel lighter if he chose to return. And that made everything clearer than ever, because sometimes a person's willingness to let go is exactly what makes the other unable to leave. Hung looked at Hoài Ca. His eyes were no longer uncertain, but firm, because he knew what he needed to hold on to was not a place full of material comfort, but the person who had stood by him, even when they had nothing. And from that moment, his decision was no longer just a choice. It became something unchangeable. In the end, Hung's mother left. No more pressing words. No more heavy, expectant gazes like before. What remained was a quiet emptiness after everything. She left carrying her dissatisfaction, carrying thoughts that perhaps could not be changed in just a short time. But at the same time, she also left behind a deep silence. A silence long enough for Hoài Ca and Hung to stop and look again at everything they had. No more pressure. No more comparisons. No more choices laid out on a scale. Only the two of them. And the reality in front of them. A reality that was not easy. They did not have much. No financial comfort to freely choose the path they wanted. No land readily available to begin as smoothly as others. No clear, step-by-step plan that could guarantee everything would go as expected. Everything was still uncertain. But within all that uncertainty, there was one thing that always remained. They were still not choosing the easier path if it meant letting go. And perhaps that alone became their strongest foundation. Not money, not conditions, but companionship. A companionship strong enough for them to believe that no matter where they started again, they could keep going. In the days that followed, life did not suddenly change. Nothing big happened. No immediate turning point appeared. Everything continued, slowly, just as it always had. Hoài Ca continued her work. The small soil bags were still neatly arranged. The seeds she had planted continued to change quietly each day. She cared for them with all the patience she had. No rushing, no expectation of immediate results. Just doing a little better each day. And then, the sprouts began to emerge. Very small, very fragile. So easy to overlook if not observed carefully. But within them was a clear, undeniable life. That soft green color was not only a sign of growth. It was also like a reminder that, as long as there is even the smallest chance, life will always find a way to rise. Just like them. Starting almost from nothing. No foundation. No support. No guarantees. Yet still trying. Still moving forward, even when each step was slow. Still holding on to belief, even when everything felt uncertain. And in those seemingly quiet days, something unexpected arrived. No warning. No signs beforehand. Yet enough to change everything. The uncle who had once let them borrow land made a new decision. He agreed to let them continue using the land. Not just a small temporary corner like before, but a piece of land wide enough to begin seriously. An opportunity they had searched for over a long time. Something they had hoped for many times, only to be disappointed. Now, it appeared unexpectedly. In that moment, there were no loud words, no dramatic reactions. Just Hoài Ca and Hung standing there, looking at each other. Their eyes met in a very special silence. No words were needed, but both of them understood. They understood that everything they had tried for all this time was not meaningless. They understood that the days of persistence, the moments they refused to give up, had finally brought something in return. Not everything, but enough to begin. And from that very moment, a new chapter truly began to unfold. Dream. After all the long days of waiting, the times of searching only to return in silence, the moments that felt like they had to stop. Finally, there was a beginning. Not something grand. Not a loud turning point. Not an immediate transformation. But simply, an opportunity clear enough for them to move forward. A piece of land, no longer something distant. A place, no longer just an idea. A starting point they had waited for so long. And standing before it, both Hoài Ca and Hung understood one thing very clearly. What they had now did not come from luck. Not because of perfect timing. Not because someone had arranged the path for them. but because they never gave up. It was the days of walking from one field to another, even knowing the answer might still be the same. It was the times they hoped and quietly accepted when things didn't go as expected. It was the moments that felt like the end, yet they still chose to keep going. And more than anything, it was the fact that they never left each other throughout that journey. Because perhaps happiness is not when everything becomes easy, not when the road ahead is free of obstacles, not when everything goes exactly as planned, but when, in the hardest days, there is still someone by your side. Someone who doesn't leave when things get complicated. Someone who doesn't turn away when the path becomes unclear. Someone who stays, even when there is nothing in hand. Together, they believe. They believe in something that has not yet happened. They believe in a future they cannot yet see. They believe that what they are doing will one day have meaning. Together, they act. Not by doing something big right away, but by doing the smallest things over and over each day. Each small soil bag, each seed, each tiny sprout. Things that seem simple, yet hold all of their effort. Together, they keep moving. Even if it's slow, even if the direction is unclear, even if at times it feels like there is no way forward, they do not stop. Because as long as they have each other, every step is no longer taken alone. The story of Hoài Ca and Hùng is not something grand enough to astonish people. There are no miracles that happen overnight. No success that comes instantly. It is simply a very ordinary journey. Starting from almost nothing, going through challenging days, and little by little, building everything from the smallest things. But it is that very ordinariness that makes people realize something deeply. That, as long as you hold on to belief, no matter how things around you change, no matter how difficult the circumstances become, there will always be a reason to keep going. As long as there is someone beside you, someone who doesn't leave, someone who stays, even when nothing is guaranteed, then every challenge is no longer impossible to overcome. And perhaps, the most meaningful thing in this journey is not how far they will go, not what they will achieve, but the way they chose to walk together, from the very beginning, until now. And if they continue like this, then no matter where they start, no matter how many challenges lie ahead, that journey will still have a beautiful ending. Please like the video and stay tuned for the next episodes.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Nay thì mình đang làm video về câu chuyện của Hoài Ca và Hùng nhé mọi người. Bây giờ thì mình mới đang làm video thôi. Ở trong câu chuyện hôm nay thì Hoài Ca và Hùng đang có một chút mâu thuẫn với mẹ của Hoài Ca trong việc là bây giờ Hùng đã chuyển công tác về rồi thì và ngôi nhà trước đó mà mẹ Hùng cắm thì bây giờ cũng đã chuộc rồi. Thì bắt đầu là đang không biết là Hùng nên ở đâu. Tại vì trước kia khi ngôi nhà chưa được chuộc về thì Hùng sống chung với Hoài Ca, nhưng bây giờ mẹ Hùng cảm thấy không được vừa ý khi mà cả hai chưa kết hôn mà lại sống chung với nhau, và thấy anh quá vất vả khi ở với Hoài Ca, vừa đi làm ở cơ quan rồi lại còn phụ giúp cô trong việc đồng áng, rồi việc vườn đồ chăm sóc này kia, nên là muốn anh về ở với mẹ. Vậy thì Hùng sẽ quyết định ra sao thì mọi người cũng có thể xem ở trong video và thấy rồi. Liệu diễn biến tiếp theo có gì bất ngờ hay không thì mình mời mọi người đón xem vào tập sau nhé. Tạm biệt mọi người.